Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 36 of our Wise Mind Fireside Chats or the Wi-Fi Chats. And I'm here with Alec, Erika, and our special guest, Stacy. Welcome, everyone. Now, to you and to our listeners, I have a question. Have you ever thought about if you have committed the sin of empathy? You're probably wondering what in the name of God is she talking about, right? I never read that in the Bible or anywhere else. But I came across it the other day online. And what really shocked me, it was in context to some current stuff going on in the world. And somebody had explained that the certain bishop had committed the sin of empathy. And what took me aback was the comment section because people had actually an argument over it. What are you talking about? And other people said, no, that's right. And the thought process I got from it, if we step back and look at it, that people can find over that, what has happened that in general we seem to find kindness, being good to people, having empathy for others, not being too selfish as a weakness and something bad. And I just want to throw that out. What has happened?
I think one reason potentially is that there's empathy fatigue, empathy burnout. Every time there's a crisis, there will immediately be charities saying there's a crisis in such a place. We've seen dozens of them, Gaza, Ukraine being two current huge ones. And I think there is, and I'm not suggesting this is a personal view, but I think because the media is the way it is, and there's this constant bombarding of people's suffering, removing ourselves from empathy is potentially a way of self-preservation to the fatigue and burnout.
I'm waiting for I thought Stacy was unmuting there. She was making moves towards the unmute button, I thought. This is blowing my mind. These last few episodes that we've done, I'm like, we're fucked. We have no respect. We have no discipline. Now empathy's in the shitter. Are you kidding me here? What's happening to us as a human race? Are you kidding? Empathy costs nothing. It costs nothing to seriously just stand in the shoes of somebody with them as they're going through something. It costs you nothing as a human being to do that for someone. And I feel like the fact that we have articles and are having a debate about the sin of empathy is screaming how many people need empathy. If you just need somebody to listen to you, I can do that. What is going on? Just be a human being. I don't understand this at all. This is insane. And if it's a sin, I guess I'm going straight to hell, which I think I already knew that anyway. But I'm on a speed train to it because this is what it's about. The older I've become, the more I realize, and Stacy said it a couple episodes ago when we were talking about getting older, you just need someone to listen to you. And everybody needs it. Whether we want to judge them for being off the rails in what they're doing, they probably need some empathy too, because everybody is walking this planet in their own experience. And the only way for you to really understand is to show some empathy to them and just walk with them. That's all empathy is. We've all gone off the rails. It's time to get back to being human beings. I don't get it.
That's when you mentioned just at the end there that get back to being human beings. That is the one thing that I think that really makes us human, is the fact that we're empathic, we're compassionate. As voids and communities, not just with that, what happened with that bishop, but when did we start demonizing being nice to people? When did that happen? I'm a firm believer you treat people the way you want to be treated. And I'm a firm believer before you judge, put yourself in their shoes. Just be there for them, understand them, and find out what makes them tick. Instead of just going in there and going, well, that's wrong, you shouldn't be feeling like that. Now, I'm going to use something that happened to me last week when I was at work. Because I showed compassion and empathy for parents with special needs. The person I was working with completely ripped me apart and told me that I was wrong. I shouldn't be feeling empathy. I'm too compassionate. I'm too kind. I'm too understanding. And I thought the alternative is what? You? And he wanted me to be skeptical. He wanted me to be aggressive with them. He wanted me to be assertive with them. And I'm thinking, but that's not me as a person. And I refuse to be anything else, especially when it goes against my core values. I'm a people person. I love people and I love to see people thrive. And I love to be there if they hit an obstacle. What is so wrong with that? Being against that is so alien to me because that's who people are at the core of their being. But it's snuffed out. It perplexes me. It really does. It really perplexes me.
I think you're hitting on a subject of empathy versus logic. Yeah, we live in this world where empathy is equated with emotions. Making decisions from an emotive place is considered to lead to bad outcomes. And we end up with this sort of rational approach to empathy. It's especially common in like justice, politics, economics, that kind of thing. And if we live in a world where acting with empathy and compassion to, for instance, a displaced group of people based on an economic decision, I'm with Erika. We are just going to hell in a handbasket. And the idea that emotion clouds judgment, to me, that's that moral compass saying, if we need at any cost to provide shelter, basic supplies, food, etc., to a group of people, damn the cost, damn everything else. And I think that's what you experience, Stacey. It's kind of is it logical just to chivvy people along and get them doing what gets society moving along? Or do we actually take a moment, like we were saying with the old people, and just experience, how is this for you?
There's a lot coming in, I think, and a few thoughts came up for me when I listened to you all. And you know what? If you think about it, because Stacey, I was accused once that I give people too much the benefit of the doubt, which is pretty much down that line. And I think if I look back and see what that person meant, what he really said is, I was backstabbed so many times. He came to the conclusion that people are just after him. So it was based on a fear that people always try to take advantage of you. And Alec, you talked a little bit about this media fatigue, but media also is really good in fear mongering, right? And putting all this out. And if you think about it, we even hear things like, oh, why do we give all the aid to these and these people? They're just lazy, they don't want to work, right? So this is all this fear mongering. So that's taken from your tax money, and then your hospitals are not on the standard they should be at, and all that. So it's all coming in. It's a mixture between fear mongering, bringing emotions up, but also how do we get along in life and make more money and do the career ladder, and it doesn't matter. That's why I hate saying so much. The ends justifies, or the need justifies the end, because that's what we do. It doesn't matter how we get there, it justifies the end. And away from media and the generous societies, how are we operating our personal lives? What did you do for the listeners, think about it. What did you do to climb that career ladder? What did you do sometimes to make the extra bob or get advantage, or you know what I mean? So I think that's where it starts in a small scale, and then it goes up the big.
There's a thing here for me, something, I don't know what this is, but I don't want to politicize empathy, right? Empathy is a human quality. There's no need. It's just a human thing. It's got politics aside, all of that to hell. It doesn't matter, right? If you take individually, and not everybody might not deserve your empathy. And I think the problem is Empathy does not mean you're naive. I think that is the problem, that people are thinking if I just show up for someone and walk beside them means I'm going to be taken advantage of and I'm naive and blah, blah. That's not what it's saying. I'm not trying to rescue this person. I'm not trying to save the world. I'm just showing up as to another human who may need somebody to just walk next to them. That's all it means. There's no need to politicize it. It's none of that. It's got nothing to do with that. I have never been one that has been told you're too nice. Let's just put that on the table. But I practice empathy a lot in my daily life, weekly. There's numerous times that I am practicing empathy. Nobody's ever said to me, you're too nice. You're going to get taken advantage of. No, I'm not offering to give you my bank account. I'm not offering to shelter dangerous criminals because I have this open heart. Like you said, I'm not illogical. I'm not naive. I just have a heart. I'm a human being, and I'm witnessing somebody who might need someone to just say, hey, everything, how can I support you? And listen to what they have to say. That's it. The end of empathy right there. That's all it means. I'm not opening my wallet. I'm not going to take somebody into my home that I don't know. It's got nothing to do with being naive. And Gabby, I think you said it. It's like people mistrust. There's a lot of shit things that happen in the world that cause you to not trust. I don't trust the general public. Stacy said, I love people. I'm sitting here thinking, I don't love people as a general whole. I don't trust the general public to make rational decisions. So I'm always like, but I can practice empathy. I have the basis of what I do. What's the problem? I get it. I've been jaded. The older you get, the more jaded you become. You think that it means that you're stupid or you're silly. You're just going to get taken advantage of. It's got nothing to do with that. Nothing.
I think for me, what you're saying and what resonates for me is that it's compassion with wisdom. I know you're a huge fan of boundaries, and if you think of it as a blind emotional response and you get into the situation where, some of your examples, opening your bank account, that kind of stuff, it could create a kind of codependency. But we're talking about empathy with accountability. We're talking about compassion with wisdom. Here I am offering you an open heart and support in order for you to grow and empower yourself. I will support you in this moment of need so that you can set your goal on something, not so that they become dependent on our handouts of charity or anything like that. And I think empathy isn't the problem, it's the interpretation. And if we are open-hearted, but we're healthy about it, and we balance wisdom and boundaries and everything else, empathy still creates change, whether that be on an individual level or on a larger level.
I think the fine line too is knowing I cannot fix this for you. I am not here to make it better. I'm just here to walk next to you as you work through that, whatever that is for you. I'm also not going to go home and take it on as mine. It's not mine, but I can share the space with you. It's not going to cost me anything to do that. And if it helps you get one step closer to healing yourself or just feeling part of and not so alone, why? And kindness and niceness are not the same, right? Don't mistake it. It's not, there's no weakness in being kind and showing empathy.
Like Alex says, it's using empathy with wisdom. I'm an emotional being. I'm a Cancerian. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm very emotional. So I use my emotions as indicators. And empathy allows me to do that with individuals who I'm close with, or I'm in close proximity with, not close to. And this is where the line to naivety comes in, is if I wanted to have a conversation like this, I would contact you because empathically we're there. We're at each other's level. But I can have a conversation like this with the guy who ripped me apart last week. So it's understanding my emotions to go, right, so I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. So I'm not even going to discuss this with him. He's monologuing. He's telling me exactly what he thinks of me. I'm not going to go there with him. And that was a boundary I put down. I'm not going to go there with him because I know he will not understand from his perspective. And that's fine, that's him. He doesn't need to understand me. He can judge me as much as he likes. He doesn't know me. And this is where empathy can come in. Empathy is not only seeing people where they are and wondering how you can help them or asking questions. It's also you can also tell when you talk to people whether it's a safe space for you, whether they get you as much as you get them. It's not just like in a coaching kind of scenario. It can be when you're meeting new people, you automatically go, something doesn't sit right with me. I use that as empathy as well. There's a warning signal there. My emotions are telling me something's not right. And then I go to people, go, oh, wow, I can really get to grips with this person. I relate to this person. Where our emotions, whether it's compassion, understanding, empathy, anything like that, can guide us to where we can do our most as a human being. If I didn't read that with that person I was in the car with, I could have been naive. I could have completely opened up to him. I could have gave him my life story and he would have had plenty of stuff to beat me over the head with. But to be able to, and demonizing empathy and understanding stops us getting to know ourselves because then we don't trust our gut feelings. We don't trust our emotional path. We don't trust our rational mind when we need all of them to work together. So being able to trust ourselves and saying it's okay to feel what we feel. We're human at the end of the day. That's what we are. We're emotional beings. We really are. Then we know where to steer our lives. We know where to steer our friendships. We know how to trust people. We know who to trust. And it can steer us in the right direction.
It doesn't escape me that once again, the last 3 or 4 episodes thematically come together. Empathy without discernment, boundaries, understanding of judgment, both ours and what is being offered towards other people, lack of respect or some respect for elders, and all play in to this theme of empathy for me. And a bit like the legs of a chair, if we take one of them away, and we've already highlighted that we're lacking respect and we do far too much judging, the chair topples. And that's how I feel. This is the chair of empathy. It's toppling because the other elements that we've spoken about are slowly and surely being eroded.
I have a really good point, Alec. And when I saw that, my first instinct was not go mad at the person who created the sin of empathy and not to react like the people who went mad with him. My first thought was, I would love to know what happened to you in life that you have actually come to that conclusion that empathy is a sin. I would love to have a one-to-one conversation with that person. And if it happens, the person is here listening, please contact me. I would really love to find out what happened to you in your life, that you come to a conclusion which is so alien to me. It would be really, really interesting. And maybe that's my empathy. As I said, it's not a weakness. Maybe empathy is also being curious and seeking that understanding of people.
I don't just openly walk around with this. I'm open for empathy at any time kind of thing. I guess Alex said it, right? It's discernment and just, it's not like you have free access to the heart, that space that I can offer you to allow you whatever you need. It's not free range. It's not on demand. You know what I mean? It's just, who are you? What is going on? Well, I got to get a sense, like Stacy said, what's the vibe here? Are you really looking, what are you looking for kind of feeling? It's not just open all the time everywhere, but it doesn't cost anything. I guess that's my main point here. It's not going to hurt you. If somebody's really within your range and you're sensing that they need maybe someone to just walk beside them, it requires nothing to show up for somebody like that, really.
Yeah. So what are your closing thoughts on it?
Well, I'm certainly not going to turn my back on empathy because or demonize it in any which way, because if there's anything that we need right now is empathy and understanding. And I'm willing to go first. And I don't care how much I'm ridiculed. This is what's needed now, and I'm going first.
I guess my closing thought remains with the wisdom of discernment in compassion. It would not serve us to blindly give and give to our own detriment. But as Erika's pointed out, it costs us nothing to at least be open and willing to see what it is that another person in need needs.
My closing thought, I guess, would be empathy is not a 4-letter word. It's not gonna write you a pass to the dark underworld if that's what you're afraid of. It's actually the reward of empathy greatly outweighs the cost, I guess. If you try it before you knock it, is my closing sentiment. Show up for someone when they're really in need and see what it does for you.
Thank you very much. And for me, keep talking to each other, keep the conversation open, and try to understand each other before even attacking anyone over anything they say, because we don't know how they came to that conclusion. With that, you find the details of everybody as usually in the comments below, and see you in the next episode.